Hello and welcome back to the Lich Please podcast. As always, I'm Yuan and I'm here with my co-host Alex, and we have our first guest. Two20sLater is a TikTok creator, and we're gonna just chat some D&D for a bit.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's excited. First guest on the show. So it's pretty cool. More people to talk to.
Honestly, you guys sold me on your name. When I got a message from Lich Please, I was like, that's so funny.
Honestly,
that was Alex.
Doing the naming, when we were doing the
Like,
naming,
I was like,
we
I
had a few names in like a wheel, and we spun it, and it landed on not this, and we were just like, we don't like that. We're just gonna go with Lich Please because it's so much better than anything else. It's great.
It is very funny. I like it a lot.
Right. So D&D. How long have you been playing for, or playing / DMing?
About half my life, so like a decade, 11 years.
Okay.
Damn.
Nice.
That's a lot more than I've been. That's a lot longer than I've been doing it. Yeah.
It is a very long time. I was definitely like the Stranger Things kid, where I was in middle school and I was playing the game with like 2 sets of dice, the player's handbook, and then I used Lego minifigures as like the minis because you can customize them.
Yeah.
So you just get like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit Lego sets, and then you can make your minis with those. It was great.
Oh, that's so good, actually. That's really good.
That's smart. How did you get into it? Was it just you saw it online, or?
I was initially asked by a friend that they were like, "Hey, do you want to come play D&D?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I had no idea what I was doing. None of us did because we were 10. But I was like, "This is a great idea, but this doesn't make any sense," because the game was very like, suddenly this happens, and I went, okay. and just around this time is also like when Critical Role was in early development, and I was hearing about like maybe a year or two later is when I heard about the conception of that show on Geek and Sundry, and I went, okay, so like it can be cooler than this. And so that's when I started like really DMing, and I started making my own worlds and everything like that. And so that's how I got into it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Kind of similar to me. I was obviously much later, but I'd been DMing for a group of friends and kind of lost interest in doing it, and kind of being like, okay, it's very, this happened and that happened. And then I would watch Brendan Lee Mulligan and I was like, oh, okay, I can see the enjoyment in like just creating utter madness happen. And that's definitely the direction I went down. So you would have started with 4.5?
No, I started with 5e. I pretty much started when that book came out. Like when 5e came out.
Is 5e that old?
2014, man.
Oh wait, that is 2014, isn't it?
2014.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think my first game would have been, I think it was 3.5. Was my first ever like time playing D&D. But then when I started DMing, I went to the store and picked up the 5th edition book.
Damn. Yeah. Oh wow. I wasn't even aware.
We all feel much older.
That's pretty.
And then
cool.
Alex is a baby.
Oh, I'm not a child.
You're a COVID player, though.
A COVID player. I'm a COVID player. Yeah. I started literally a year ago. A year ago, I think, to nearly to the day. Like I think a year and a week is how long I've been playing D&D.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I mean, I knew of it before. My uncle, so he played a lot. And he used to have like a gaming night, and he obviously played other games than D&D, and we would play them at home. So my first tabletop role-playing game was Gloomhaven, which I loved. Great game. I've got it on my PC to play. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I really want to get into D&D. So I I've not played in person. I've never ever played D&D in person, but
Oh,
I joined online and I play online, so never in person, and I want to do it in person. I will at some point, but yeah, so a year and a week, and I've
that's
decided
awesome.
I want to DM and give give everyone a break from your one DMing, so I do my own.
I'm not that bad. I'm great.
Everyone a break.
Yeah.
We can only take so much of it.
There's any amount of times that we come close to death where we just have to.
Hey, you guys wanted to be close to death.
I mean, true. I mean, technically, I've been the least close to death. So that's all right. Well, nice to lie, Lashara, but yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. That's true.
it's good. Yeah. So, what's the longest campaign you've been in?
Oh, longest campaign I've been in. I think the longest campaign that I have played and finished was like I want to say a good 9 months. It was like a whole school year.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still in school. But how this game worked is because I go to school like hours away from my hometown, and all my friends that played were in my hometown, I would drive back bi-weekly. And we all held this philosophy of if we're only going to play every 2 weeks, we want to get 2 weeks worth of game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like 2 Saturdays a month, we would all like we were gremlins. We would and this is like this was like a year or two ago. This was not long ago. So like there is no I did this as an adult, and I just need to preface that. But we would all just like go to my house and we would play D&D for like 8 or 9 hours on a Saturday. And we'd order pizza and drink soda, and it was really unhealthy, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So who is DMing that? Because that's intense to DM for. That's rough. That's
tough. Yeah,
that's
Yep.
tough. Yeah, that's impressive.
Well, like the idea of it was basically like if you can prep like a 4-hour game in 1 week, why can't you prep an 8-hour game in 2 weeks? And the answer is because there's more opportunity for the players to go somewhere else. So you have to account for more variables.
Yeah.
It ended up being a fun time, and it helped that it was already a pre-written adventure. So basically I just took an official adventure that we were doing. I was introducing 2 of the 3 players to D&D for the first time. So we did Dragon of Icespire Peak from the Essentials kit. And then after that, basically that's when it became like, okay, now we're on the Sword Coast, we're in Faerun, where do you want to go? And they decided to travel south and do Waterdeep Dragon Heist. They were a little high leveled, so I had to homebrew a bunch of stuff. But otherwise, I pretty much just ran those 2 adventures back to back for this party, and it took about 9 months.
Nice.
Oh, damn, fair enough. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So that leads me on nicely to the next question. Module or homebrew?
Yes.
What's your take? Do you prefer one? Do you prefer the other?
I think there's a place for both of them. I think the combo I have found that works best for me in my life right now is module with homebrew, or like pre-written campaign setting and then homebrew adventure. I'm still a student. I've got a job. So I don't have nearly as much time as I would like to just like sit and world build. So right now, my main game I'm running is Call of the Netherdeep, which is in Exandria, the world of Critical Role. And it's in the continent of Wildmount, which there is also an official book on. So I just have both of those books, and then they can go anywhere in that continent and I have something for it. I also picked up Tal'Dorei Reborn, so if they decide that they want to go there, they can go there. And so it's I have found that just having the world made for me, it's much easier for me to make adventures within that world. I have done completely homebrew games before and I loved them. It's just I understand that it doesn't work for everyone's life.
Absolutely.
If I only had a job and I wasn't doing school, I could probably do a completely homebrew world. But for where I'm at right now, it's just much easier to do it that way. And I also recommend for new DMs, like if you've never done it before, making an entirely new world and trying to explain the systems of magic and why things are the way they are, creating a pantheon if you want one, can be really daunting. So I usually recommend that brand new DMs find a module that they really like and just run that first, because you can clear that. You can clear Lost Mine of Phandelver in 2 months, like if that. So like just get a module, get an adventure that you can do, and then do that as your first one, and then try to find something in every chapter that you can change, and then that's how I would recommend new DMs start. So that's my take on modular homebrew, is both. There's a place for both of them.
Yeah. I think my take on giving new DMs is, and I think this is just from my personal experience of, I guess I've been traumatized.
Oh no.
I ran Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Okay.
They turned up to their first village, walked in, saw the cult of the dragon attacking, and was like, why do we care about these people? Walked around and left. And I was like, well, damn.
Why do we care about these people?
At that point, I just
such
shut
a
the book
crazy
and was
question
like,
to me.
yeah, but that's the kind of group they were. Honestly, I shut the book and was like, right, okay. I pulled the map up and was like, what's around?
Yeah, we're doing something else.
I think, as you said, campaign book, get the world, and then maybe get some run-to one-shots to get used to the improvising first, and then once you've got the improvising down, run a module, because they will throw some shit at you that the book didn't account for.
Yes.
And if that can fluster you if you're a brand new DM, but
for sure.
Other than that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Run a module first before attempting a
never played
homebrew
modules
campaign.
Never played a module, never ever. Only homebrew, but I can see why people use modules. My logic is, if you're new to D&D, it's probably easier to do a module than homebrewing stuff, because my first thing the first campaign I was in, I'm still in, is homebrew. I found it easy because the DM's really helpful and to help me make my class and stuff. But I feel like if you do a module with the preset classes and stuff, you'll be able to have more fun in a homebrew world because you can homebrew classes. See, I just went for like the basic classes that are preset, and don't get me wrong, it's great. Like I had fun, or have fun, and that character was fun to use until it died. But homebrew classes is just you get to make something yourself and then use it. So I feel like module for first time players is probably the way to go. It's the easiest way to understand the rules as well, because you don't have to be confused about the world and the rules. You can just be confused about the rules because there's a book that explains the whole world, I think. Yeah.
You mentioned Lost Mines there. There's a lot of people in the community who don't like Lost Mines. I think I fall into that
Are there?
bracket because, I find it's very combat heavy, and if you're running it for a group of new players, it can change their perception of the game and think this is a combat thing rather than which is something I tried to change a lot. Is like I gave them more role playing encounters and tried to get them to navigate things through diplomacy rather than just let's go in and kill everything.
Right. That's very fair. That's a good point. That's why I hated the Spelljammer adventure, is because the Spelljammer adventure is like, we're going to explore space, but then the adventure was actually just a showcase of everything in the space monster manual. So you go here and you kill a thing, and then you go here and you kill a thing, and you go here and you kill a thing, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
No,
they introduced this really awesome city in space, the Rock of Brawl, and then you go there one time.
Oh, that's
And I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, some I feel like there are some adventures that should, like the modules. I feel like they could be more creative, right? So what's it called?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off. My favorite module that I recommend to everyone that everyone play is Waterdeep Dragon Heist, because the first chapter of Waterdeep Dragon Heist is like introducing the city. It's like, it's a little railroady, all things considered, but the idea is that it wants to highlight like the culture of the city and key locations and big people that are involved. And then chapter 2 starts with okay, what do you want to do? And then it's like, okay, you can hang out with like one of 5 different factions that all have unique quest lines. You get new quest opportunities depending on the season that you're running the game in. If it's a fall game, you're going to have different quests than if you were playing in spring. You can start a business and you can run a bar, and then you get to go and like work with local suppliers, like local breweries and construction companies, to refurbish and establish this bar. But then there's also another bar down the street that wants to try and sabotage your business. So it's great. It has so many options for like doing what you want. And like you said, with like too much combat, I don't think Waterdeep Dragon Heist has any of that. I think it's so role play focused. I'm like, yes, very good adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
Yeah, you had me at start a business.
Yeah, you can start a bar.
As soon as you said
awesome.
that, I can just see the message from Alex later on is, can you read the mechanic?
Oh yeah. So in the campaign on the player and Yuan's running, my character his goal is to become a knight, but some stuff happened, and basically it's a bunch of homebrewed alcohol that has been made, and we've given names, and now he likes alcohol, but he likes money as well. So he's now, everywhere we go, he will search for alcohol and sell, and he's trying to get a license now to be a trader, to get exclusive rights. He's already got exclusive rights to a city that he just needs the trading license for. It's
nice.
Yes, you had me owning a business. I was like, oh yes, I want to do that.
Fantastic. You ever looked into Acquisitions Incorporated?
Yes, that's kind of where I love that module.
It's basically like turning your adventuring party into The Office. Where like there's like, you have like executives above you that like sponsor you, and then people get like specific jobs. Like one of them's the navigator, one of them is like the treasurer, and like each member of your party has a specific like role in the business. You get a headquarters, and then you like actually take clients. Like you can get like the lords of the kingdom as like clients that like pay you to do quests. It's awesome. It's great. It's a very cool and highly underrated piece of D&D media.
Spoiler for Arc 2. That's kind of what I'm planning on implementing.
Oh, it's awesome. It's so cool.
Yes,
kind of the idea.
Yes,
that we're building towards. But
in my it's in my original campaign, the one I'm still in. We after our Act 1, we own a city. Like we had passive income from a city and owned it. It's amazing. Like we've built things in the city that we want. Yeah, it's really good. I love business stuff in D&D. I think it's so fun. It just makes it more interesting. Better dialogue, better role playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree. It's on my D&D bucket list, and I've never had the opportunity because I'm not a player that often.
Yeah.
But it's on my D&D bucket list to have a castle and then be lord of a castle, because then the next step of that is that now you need to do the politics, and you need to work with the other local lords about territory and like money and trade. And I'm like, that in D&D is a really cool unexplored concept to me. So I would love to own a castle or a city or something like that.
Yeah, we have in the first campaign, we have what our DM does is he'll put up events on like a survey document for us before the session. So he'll put it up on Friday, the session will be Monday, like Monday evening, well, Monday morning, because it's an American time, and I stay up and play D&D. But
That's so awesome
yeah,
of you.
so he puts up the surveys, and what happened when we was trying to take over the city in the city, he put up ones that he'd get some of our NPCs in the party to do, and people would vote, and then that would change the outcome for something that happens at the start of next session, and you could get stuff or lose stuff, or like people turn hostile, and then you've got an issue there, or you've gained favor with someone, you get something really good from them, and
That's
then
a
he'd do
neat
the
idea.
rolls just before the session. We'd join in, learn everything that's happened, and then that would like the whatever's happened has happened. We'd continue with what we were doing and have to deal with that as like a side quest thing. And it opens up everything because so much stuff has happened for us. Yeah, like we've got an NPCs to help us in like take over the lords and stuff.
Nice.
And gain the city because of the interaction. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I do enjoy owning a city. It's fun.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, I mean we're rich now, so it's helpful. Yeah. No, I love. I prefer the role playing. Before, when I went to start D&D, I was more excited about the combat because I played so many games in my life. I was just like, oh, I can't wait for combat and stuff. I was like, yes. And then we got down to it. I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy the role playing. Like, it's actually a really good part because it adds to the combat as well. Like, it's not just like
absolutely 100%. Yeah,
makes the combat worse. And role playing is very, very fun.
Yeah. I'm running Call of the Netherdeep right now, and Call of the Netherdeep has this really awesome like mechanic that I love, or I guess not a mechanic, but a feature that I love, that is the rivals. And that is in the adventure, there is another adventuring party that is trying to go on the same adventure that you are. Right? So it's like there's this like MacGuffin, and at several points throughout the story, they might try to steal that MacGuffin from you, or they will meet up with you at pivotal parts because they are also trying to do the quest.
Oh, that's so cool.
And you can have like you can like just like fully go against them and like hate each other and be like, rivals, but you can also have a positive relationship with them where later in the story, if you continue to foster that friendship, they will literally just like fight with you in the final encounter. So the final encounter is like your party of which is recommended for 5. And then this other party of 5, and it's just the 10 of you in this final encounter, and they all have like super unique abilities and stuff. But if you go the route where you end up fighting them, where like the decisions you make leads them to be more neutral or hostile towards you, and you have to fight them at those pivotal parts, the role play of it, of like, who this is, and like it even comes with like sample dialogue that they can say in fights to like roast the party. That it's like when this character that you're very familiar with because of the role play says that thing, then you're like, ouch. Like, that actually hurt. Or if you don't like them, you're like, oh, you're dead. Like, it makes the combat so much more impactful and important to you when you have that emotional role, like the role play puts stakes on it.
Yeah. So we, I mean, you doing, I think you mentioned you do in person, right? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
See, we have recently moved over to Tailspire, and that's elevated our combats significantly.
It's so good.
We love Tailspire at the minute. It's so good, but again, Alex, in person is better than Tailspire significantly.
Yeah, I really want to do it.
Oh yeah,
really
without a doubt.
Yeah, it's So I actually did recently find out there is a shop near me that does like gaming nights things, like D&D and stuff every now and then. So I'm very tempted to go there. But what I really want is my friends to. So I have a little plan for like the homebrew I'm doing.
Your friends.
Kind of. I have a plan for the homebrew one I'm doing for you guys. Is big world events that I want to sort out. I'm going to make a one shot and do it like I'll have people, just random people like my friends or people I know from servers, do the one shot,
that's nice.
and that will decide how the world pans out. So I might try and get them to do it in person. So I do it in person one shot, and it's like, oh yeah, you guys are doing this for this campaign. This will decide. It's a big event in the campaign, and it will change interaction for you lot. So obviously, I don't have to decide on things by myself really cool. As well. It will happen how it happens when they roleplay it, and then you guys will find out when you get to that point. Because I know someone else who's done something similar to that. Because I was in one of their one shots, I was like, "This is a great idea. I'm going to take that and use it for myself."
Yeah, that's pretty good
because it's genius. Yeah,
there was this awesome campaign intro idea I saw where basically everyone makes characters, and they're on a ship and they're sailing to a different location in the world. And then in this session, like they might have interactions, like maybe there's a stowaway and there's drama with that. They learn where other people are from. They learn about like cities in the world because the ship like travels to different cities. So they learn a little bit about the world through this one shot. And then this giant monster attacks or whatever that's the bad guy of the game, like a storm giant, a kraken, a dragon turtle, something attacks the ship, and they do this one shot, and inevitably they probably lose because it's a big giant monster. But then the next session they make new characters, and the intro, like the real game, starts because these new intrepid heroes get the quest to find out what happened to that missing ship.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's
I'm
really
like,
cool.
yeah, that's great. So then they already have like a little bit of a foundation in the world, and they already kind of know like what was going on. And while the players know what generally happened, they know that it's going to be a little harder than just going out and killing a thing.
Damn, that is really cool. I might have to remember that for mine. So
that's all DMing is. Yeah. My greatest DMing advice is steal everything. The more obscure, the better DM you are.
Yeah,
it's not called stealing. It's called magpieing. You just take the interesting stuff from people.
Yeah. I'm writing the homebrew I'm doing is a pirate one because I randomly wrote it in chat one day. I said, "Has anyone thought about doing a pirate campaign?" And they were like, "Oh, awesome. Let's do that." I was like, "Okay then." Mm-hmm. Now, if I sent this to the chat now, so I'm addicted to One Piece. It's the thing.
Of course.
I'm addicted to it, naturally. If I sent it to chat now, when people started watching it, we would be doing a One Piece campaign. Because that is a thing that exists, and there's books for it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm writing my own pirate one, and I have decided there will be One Piece things. Just like the crew positions are One Piece crew positions, because regular pirate positions back in the day don't make sense to me. They're too confusing, so I'm going with the One Piece ones. So yeah, I just try and steal as much as I can. Like, there's a bunch of rules on the internet I found for pirate campaigns and like weapons and stuff. I'm just stealing, and then I'll write my own like world, and that's it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
No, it's going to be really, really good.
On inviting you on, I asked you for 2 questions. Well, kind of 1 question. Only 2 questions we asked you to prepare for.
Okay.
Which was one moment as a DM where you've been like wowed by a player or like a role play scenario that they've come up with. So what is your wow moment as a DM?
One time I've been wowed as a DM by a player is that it was a big pivotal arc in my last campaign I did, which was a little shorter than 9 months, but we played weekly. So we covered ground more frequently.
Yeah.
So I think the total play time would have been longer, but we did it in less time. But anyway, a big pivotal arc was this city siege where we used the Unearthed Arcana mass combat rules, and we had this like map of the city with like sort of like capture points. And the goal was you had to go to this place, do a skill challenge. While you were doing the skill challenge, the armies were fighting, so there was a chance that your unit would get disbanded or something like that, or like members of your army would die. So there was like a resource management element, but one of the players, after their unit had disbanded, they kept themselves and then one of the other player characters' younger brother with them. And they had this fantastic moment where they took the checkpoint by themselves.
Oh wow.
There was also a little bit of flirting in there in doing it. Like after they did that, they were like, "Hey, that was pretty cool." Like, and so there's a little bit of that. And all the players were like, "Ooh!" And just as things started to like get good and heat up, and they were gonna have like people were anticipating this awesome reunion because they had to leave the city, do another adventure. They, in order to accomplish one of their next goals, they used this. It was called the Dream Pool. You can look into it and you can see the memories of another person. So they were effectively spying on the person they were trying to find to try and figure out where they were. However, once you use the Dream Pool, you have to give up a memory of your own. Like to see someone else's memory, you have to give up one of yours, and they gave up the memory of them doing that.
Oh,
So they completely forgot that person, that they existed, that they had that moment, that there was a little love blooming, and they completely forgot it. And like the player was in tears for the rest of the night, but they were like,
that's
powerful.
That's incredible.
Damn.
So that was a crazy moment.
Wow. Yeah, that is insane.
Imagine just like forgetting your significant other.
Yeah.
For the mission.
Yeah, that's good. And then part 2 of that question was a moment as a player that you've been wowed by like a DM.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up question to this question. Is this a positive wow or a negative wow? I'll
leave that up for your interpretation.
Yeah, whatever wow you
can
want.
take that however you would like.
It's I haven't played as a player enough to be like hit with an epic plot twist. I think the most consecutive sessions I've ever done as a player has been like 6, which is not a lot.
I feel that on a spiritual level. I feel that.
So it's like I never have time to have like big epic character moments like the one I just said, because that one developed over like months. Like we're easily 20 or 30 sessions in when that decision comes up. But when I've been playing for like a month and then the game falls apart, I don't have time for any like positive wowing. But I do have some negative wowing where I, as a player, looked at them like,
I'm looking forward to this now.
So there's one massive gripe I have with D&D, that when we hear that like DMs, the role of the DM is to make the story, right? And the players interact with the world in their way, but the DM makes the story, sets up the adventure. Sometimes DMs take that a little far, and they have this vision of how they want the story to go, and then they try to come up with ways that makes the player do that thing. There's one table that I bet you I'm sort of infamous at, because I see this as a railroading technique. That this DM, almost every game I've played with them, they have some kind of like blood pact or magic sacred ritual beyond our comprehension that forces us to do something, or we die, like Suicide Squad. And I'm like, I'm not huge on that. I'm like, this feels like, instead of trusting me as the player to recognize that this is the story you've prepared and doing the story, it feels like you don't trust me as a player to collaborate on this collaborative storytelling experience, and that you're just making me do it and eliminating my choice to say yes. And that's annoying to me, so I hate that.
Yeah.
And so what has wowed me as a player for the DM is like just blatant railroading like that. Like you have to do it. There's no way out of it because you're level 3 and this is like an archmage or a lich or something like that. There's no way you defeat this person, so you have to do it. And I'm like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's thoroughly understandable. Yeah.
That's rough. That's it's almost like your characters in their book rather than
right. I've heard that a lot.
People with
on social media, they're like, "Oh, write a book."
Yeah. Speaking of writing books and stuff, what is your opinion on paid versus unpaid DMing?
Ooh. I think every DM should be compensated for their additional work. Because players, after you've written your backstory, for the game to function, even if you don't have like a written backstory, you just have like a background, like a general idea of what your backstory was. I usually have my players like write a backstory so that way I can bake them into the world.
Absolutely.
But after that, I've totally met people that have the mentality of like, oh, now I just need to show up every week. And like they show up for session, and then as soon as they walk out the door, D&D leaves their mind for the rest of the week until the day before when they go, oh yeah, I have that tomorrow. So whereas like I, as the DM, to prepare this game, am doing loads and loads and loads of effort. I probably think about D&D every day. I mean, part of that is because I make videos about it, but I'm thinking about my campaign as well, as like, how can I make this cool? What does this character think about this? Stuff like that. How would they react when the party does this? How long will this character wait for the party to do their side quest before they give up and hire the rivals? Like something like that. Because DMs are putting in more work outside the session, I think that players should somehow return the favor. The easiest way I can think to return the favor is, besides like showing up, being attentive, being present, and like caring about the story as much as you can, is like bring snacks. Like bring a bag of chips to the session every week. And so that way the DM can like munch on Doritos while you guys are playing. And like that's appreciated. I have players that bring like 12 packs of soda, that like they'll just bring a case of Coke like once every 2 weeks or something like that. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. Thank you. Just something additional outside of like money. I think the only time you should pay dollars to your DM, or pounds, is that is if they wouldn't have otherwise done it. Like if I usually think it's kosher for the DM invites the players, right? Because the DM is making the story, so they get to pick who is playing in it. I usually like go with that mentality where like I've had people walk up to me at school that's like, hey, I saw your videos, or I heard you did this. I'd love to play D&D sometime. And I'm like, okay, so what you're asking me is to do a bunch of extra work and out of my own time, so that way you can just show up and have fun. It's not exactly etiquette to me, but it would be completely different if it was, hey, I would like to play D&D. I will like literally pay you money for the time and effort. I think like DMs that do that offer themselves like, hey, like if you guys want to pay me money to run a game for you, that they otherwise wouldn't, then I think that's totally fine and up to them. And if all of the players are willing to pay for that, then cool. That's the take.
Yeah, that's a good take, to be fair.
It's
because so ours was at least mine was on. So I found on like D&D online, obviously not played in person, and there's like Facebook group chats and Discord and whatever. And what I really dislike is when someone will put a message into the chat and go, "This is the campaign I'm starting. It's homebrew," and they put it in detail. And it's really cool. I'm like, yes. And then at the end, it says it's pay to play, and I'm just like, don't ask, don't put like I've made a campaign and then be like, oh, it's pay to play. That's just not. No one's. Nope. Why would I read the whole thing and just be like, oh, yes, I want to pay? Like, you want players. It's not I want to play for you.
Yes. Yeah. If the DM goes, I want players because I want to play D&D, then I don't think the players are obligated to pay. I think it's etiquette to like give some kind of return, like I said, like bring snacks or something like that. Or like I think it would be cool if you have a specific adventure module you want to run and the DM doesn't own it, buy it for them and say,
absolutely,
like, here is the book. Can you run this for us? And then they didn't have to pay for the book, but it has all the stuff in there to run it. So they go, yeah, sure. But I totally agree that if you want players, if you want to play and you want players, you can't ask them to pay you for running the game because you're the one that wants to run it.
Yeah, no, it's I just find it really it really irritates me as well because there'll be people on those servers looking for a first time campaign as well, and then they're going to think that it's going to be D&D's pay to play. It's not. Like, oh well, it is and it isn't. It is if you really want to just get in depth and buy whatever you want, but if you're making your own campaign and you want players, you shouldn't have to charge them. It defeats the whole purpose of making your own campaign.
Big wizards don't want you to know this. You don't actually need Wizards of the Coast. The basic rules are online for free. You can make the rules whatever you want. You can make your own classes whatever you want. You can buy everything third party if you want. You don't actually need Wizards of the Coast. You don't have to spend any money on this game at all. They don't want you to know this, but when you buy all the books, you're actually just buying ideas. You don't need to use any of it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You don't need dice. You can find them online. If you buy one set, you're probably going to end up with 20 or 30 sets of dice.
True.
Which is a very slippery road to go down.
Absolutely. Because you say, oh, it's only like, what is it for you guys? Like 10 pounds? It's only 10 pounds. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not there.
I got 10 pounds. Like I could get away with it. Like,
Alex,
and then you say that like 20 times, and suddenly you're 200 pounds in, and
yeah, exactly. You're looking at a 60-pound set of dice, and you're like, I mean, they're really pretty.
They are like the sharp edge ones or the metal ones, the stuff with like things inside, little bits and baubles, and you're
insane sets of dice, and you're like, I could.
I'm still
myself one day.
I'm still surviving. I will though, because there is ads on Instagram, and just everywhere I look, it's just look at these dice. It's like,
if you just need a lot of them, you can get like a 26 pack on Amazon for like 20.
Yeah.
That's what I've done.
There's the old, that's fair enough. There's the old big packs. Yeah, they might. I might start there.
Fancy, but it's a bunch of them.
Yeah, to be fair.
So it's come up a couple of times, but obviously, for the perceptive ones out there, we are from different countries. What's I think our perception from watching at least like Americanized shows, you see the perception of D&D, the culture there is, I think, very different to here. I think, especially since COVID, D&D culture has boomed everywhere. I don't think you can argue that without a doubt. It's still quite niche and quite small. Have you seen much of a change, especially in America, with like it like becoming more acceptable? People are playing it, talking about it.
Absolutely. In America, everyone knows what it is. Everyone plays it. When I just started playing, it was still like a nerdy thing that like nerds did. And I've seen like everyone that I have said D&D to, like, not only do they know what Dungeons and Dragons is, but they know the acronym. They know D&D from things like Critical Role, Dimension 20, Stranger Things. Like,
absolutely,
people know what it is, and like they have a basic idea of what the game is, or they know someone that plays. Like, oh, my uncle plays that game or something like that. I've seen like TikToks of like weightlifters that create this scenario that like your player character in D&D might be in, where you failed to pull the wizard out from like the chasm and his hand slipped as he falls. Never again. And then it's this guy in real life that's actually like doing rows. I'm like, that's incredible gym motivation.
So good.
But like, what a weird cross that I would have never expected 5 years ago. So absolutely, D&D culture in America is very booming and very accepted, and like everyone plays, everyone's interested in playing. The president of fraternities at my college was like, "Hey, I saw your videos. I'm interested in playing." Now, I talked about how that wasn't exactly like kosher before, but I mean, I was still baffled that I was like, "You are like the frat bro, like you're the final boss at a party."
Yeah.
After you've won every game of Pong and Flip Cup, like you fight this guy and he's being like, "Hey, I want to play D&D." I was like, whoa,
that's incredible. Yeah, I would say, I mean, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, Alex. I think we were just coming out of the nerdy bit. We're leaving that, and it's becoming more popular talking about it. A couple of years back, we had a charity event in the UK. Do you remember? Like, they got a bunch of comedians to play D&D, and they streamed it on Channel 4.
I feel like I know about that. I feel like I
Yeah,
did. I mean, I wasn't into D&D then, but I do. It does ring a bell. I feel like it was a big thing that happened here.
People like James Acaster, Jimmy Carr, and people like that played. And I think that kind of opened it up to some more people to be like, "Oh, this is D&D. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's not just a bunch of 14-year-olds sat in a basement going, I want to hit the witch."
Yeah.
It's you can do so much with it, I think.
So some of my friends, obviously they know I play D&D because it's on Monday evenings, and if they want me to do something on Monday evenings, I just flat out refuse because I can't D&D. But they know I did it, and then one of them was like, do you ever think about getting us to do it? I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, but we'd have to wait. You guys would have to watch YouTube or something on it, because as much as I could do explain it and do a session for you guys, you won't necessarily want to be in that session until you understand D&D. So I was like, you go find some media about it or something. And then one of them the other one was like, what we're going to do is we're just going to ruin everything because we're not going to do what you expect. I was like, that's exactly what D&D is. You never do what anyone expects. It's the whole point. You don't do anything. You just do what you want. And they were like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. I was like, yeah, it's not that bad. And if you guys don't want to do like voices or role play or anything, I don't care that much. Like, it's up to you guys what you do as players.
Exactly. 100%.
I'm just there to give you a story. That's it. Yeah.
I think I disagree with you that like
you need to consume as well.
some kind of D&D media before you start. Have you ever heard of the Matt Mercer effect?
Yes.
Basically the idea that like people watch Critical Role and then they play with their amateur, not professional actor DMing for like 6 months.
A regular guy who's got a life and a job.
Right. And when he's not Matt Mercer, the players go, what the hell?
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
That's what they thought D&D was. I think it's almost better to start without that perception, so that way when they watch Critical Role, they go, oh my God, he's really good, instead of expecting that to be like the average. Especially because they often don't talk about on Critical Role, on Dimension 20. They often don't talk about that those are professional actors. Like they are huge. Matt Mercer is probably in any piece of animated media you've ever seen. Like, he's in everything. And Brennan is a professional improv comedian. Like, it's what he does. So it's like we're talking about people that have been paid to do this for their professional career, and then they just adapted it and applied those skills to D&D, and then like it can create the expectation that if you just watch those shows, you expect that to be just like what D&D is. And so I would almost recommend it's better to go in blind to D&D and then learn about those shows, so that way you can appreciate how good those people are without that being the expectation at your table.
Yeah.
I will also say as well, I don't think you'll have a more enjoyable session than teaching your friend D&D in person. You will have such a good time. Because they won't know anything, and they'll be like, "I want to hit that," and you'll be like, "Okay, give me this check, give me that check."
Yeah,
and they'll be like, "It'll be so much fun for you to teach them, and you'll just have such a great time."
It's really fun to see them like test the bounds of what they can actually do. Of like, so I can just hit him. Yeah, if you want to hit him. Yeah, I want to hit him.
But I think I'm getting closer to it because one of my friends is playing Baldur's Gate with me, and
nice.
It's always fun. The first day, he never played D&D or anything before, and we went in, and the first thing that happened is we were in a fight, and he tried to walk away and just got hit by everyone. I was like, "Oh, I should have mentioned you can't walk away from someone; they're allowed to hit you." And he's just like, "Why did you say?" I was like, "Learning experience."
Canon event.
You know, it is what it is.
Or opportunity attacks back to back is a canon event.
Yeah.
There's something I see quite a lot on the Facebook groups looking for people to play. You'll see all the time first time plays be like, I'm looking to play. Me and my friends are looking to play. I've watched all of Critical Role, all of Dimension 20. Can anyone DM for me? And I'm always screaming, you can DM. If you've watched all of that, you know the rules. You can DM. You have had the best education out there for the rules watching these professional DMs do it. You have great instincts. Just play. Just go for it.
Yeah, I agree. Just play. If you have like at least two other people that want to play, and you're like, and you've truly watched
that much content,
1,000 hours of D&D content, you know what you can and can't do. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say can't do. You know what you can do and what you maybe have to reconsider doing.
Exactly.
You know that Fireball is deadly. Like, you know that Counterspell is great. Like, you know the memes. You know the meta. Like,
yeah,
you know what all the classes do.
You're not missing anything by having never played before going straight to DMing at that point.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. The only thing you're missing is making your own character and backstory, and that's
the attachment that you get to a character.
Yeah. But everyone has to make their first character and give them a really depressing backstory, because that's
I was just gonna say that like where I'm around, I'm around a lot of theater people, so they're all just a bunch of tiefling bards, and they're like, yeah, my first time playing D&D, I'm gonna be a tiefling and I'm gonna be a bard because I'm not like other people.
Yeah.
I'm like, you'd be surprised.
It has to happen. It's just a part of D&D. It just has to happen. Your first character has to be like really edgy and cool and
really edgy. Yeah. They always have the saddest backstory. No parents.
My first character was he wasn't edgy, but he was like an orphan and had a really bad life. And then I joined the other character in the campaign. The first one he spoke to was a small dwarf that only can say help in common, and it was just the goofiest character ever. And I was just like, oh, I was way too serious going into this. Let's just redo his personality a bit. I was
so good.
It was genuinely, and then
good.
I think it took 6 sessions before the dwarf slipped up and we heard her speak English, or common even. I heard her speak common, just as a slip up, because she totally forgot. And then everyone was gobsmacked because we were coordinating with helps. But like now in the campaign, canonically, my character language understands what she means when she says help. Like she,
like R2D2.
It's like he knows exactly what he's talking about. It's like, okay,
what's that, R2? We need to go to the.
It's like we've had a few players join, like new players, and they've talked to them, and they've just the conversation goes, hi, and it's just help, and then my character will tap him on the shoulder and be like, I'll translate, don't worry, you'll figure it out eventually, we'll get there. Yeah, that's so awesome. That was an interesting experience, and then I just realized, I was way too serious for this.
One time I had a Dragonborn Paladin of Bahamut, and we rolled for stats. We did 4d6, dropped the lowest, and they rolled all ones. So they had a 3 intelligence. And we were like, can you even talk? And we looked up in the rules, they can't. But for the purposes of communicating, we allowed them to speak. They couldn't say words with 3 syllables or more unless it was religious. So that way they could talk about their religion and spread the name of Bahamut, because that's what they really wanted to do. Yeah. So we were rolling at the fact that they could say the word anti-disestablishmentarianism, but not establishment.
I love that.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. It was fantastic.
Low intelligence characters are the best. Like
because then it also turned into them like counting and being real slow. Like, I think that we could go to Waterdeep. 3 syllables, not religious. The South City.
That's good.
No, low intelligence characters are hilarious. I play one in Yuan's campaign. I've got the smallest intelligence. And last session, our interaction went, we were talking about days, years, and months somehow. And my character and our paladin measure days, years, and months, not in time, but in length. So we were saying, I thought a day was this long. And then they were like, that's not a day. I was like, well, days are the longest. And then it goes weeks, months. It was a whole thing. It was like half an hour of role-playing about how me and the paladin didn't understand the concept of time. But my character understands proteins and what to take to be buff at the gym. He's a fighter. He's a strong fighter. All the in-depth, like the amino acids and like everything, the enzymes. Yeah. But nothing about days of the week or anything like that. It's just stupid with everything else. Yeah.
You could break down the benefits of creatine.
I think that was the first conversation we might have had. Was my character talking about creatine? I think
it was.
It was one of the first conversations.
It's interesting as DM sat there listening to this, going, right,
could not tell you what a blended milk is made of.
This character at Inception
getting searched up, yeah,
was out to be a knight, was doing all this great stuff, and now he sat there. We're discussing: does he understand the concept of time? The destruction of Dan's character has just been a downward spiral.
It was incredible. I wouldn't even say downward spiral. It started here, about 20 minutes into the first session, it just there, and then ever since it's just been at the bottom. I think he's forgotten about being a knight at the moment. Like, it's not like his memory is great either. I mean, he's got a pet rock that teleports back to his hand when he throws it. Rocky. Yeah. But I said if he ever dies, I'm going to do the complete opposite and do the smartest character I can think of. Just the complete opposite to him, to give a massive culture shock to the party that Dan is dead, and it's in fact you've lost him. There's no more stupidity from him. You're getting an instant.
I miss our himbo.
Yeah,
but I think you guys derailed my idea for the campaign almost immediately. I sent them on a caravan protection. It was meant to be a nice, easy intro. There were some goblins to fight. Goblins attacked the caravan. One ran off. I kind of expected them to stay, but I'd made a map for the cave just in case they decided to follow the goblin. They followed the goblin. So then I had to decide: do I destroy the cat. Does the caravan get attacked again, and they get punished for leaving the caravan they were told to protect? And they lost a lot of interesting NPCs in that attack. Have you done anything like that where your party have possibly veered off, and you've been like, well, logically, this is a consequence of what they've done?
In Call of the Netherdeep, this is spoilers for a Call of the Netherdeep. If any of you ever want to play it, it features this dungeon called the Betrayer's Rise, and it's this demon dungeon where you have to get through it, and at the end of it is this shrine to one of the prime deities of the pantheon, like deep within this demon temple. And when you get there, it segues you into the next chapter of the adventure. So it's like the finale of this arc is pretty much what it is. And in it, there's a puzzle where you are meant to. There's a stained glass window, and then some like dancing flame spirits is what they're called. And what you're meant to do is you're meant to dance with the dancing flame spirits, and then they will fly into the stained glass window into one of the like images of the betrayer gods of the world, which are like the evil ones. And you're meant to like say the name of them in order. There's like 4 of them. You're meant to say the name in order, and then the stained glass window becomes a door to the next level of the dungeon. First thing my players do when they walk in the room,
Oh no.
Monk walks up to it. I'm going to break the window. Roll to hit, does damage. Okay, it says in the book how much health the window has, and he didn't do enough damage in 1 hit to break the window. So I say it cracks, but it's still up. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to hit it again. Hits it again, shatters the window. I am like this, looking at the bit in the book where it says, like almost verbatim, if the glass window is broken, the dancing flame spirits become hostile and attack. They fight to the death. And so I'm just like,
Oh.
And so the flame spirits attack, and they fight to the death, and they kill half the party.
Damn.
Oh,
Damn.
It's okay, because it became a big thing that the other half of the party basically split into like 2 of them ran. 2 of them were like, screw this, adventuring isn't for me. And they ran away. Our of course, our paladin is the only one that stuck it out. And because adventuring in this world isn't just like something heroes do, it's like a business. Like the rivals are doing this, yes, to be heroes and get famous, but also just like for money. He went and hired all the rest of like the new player characters. So like and like the first session with the new characters was like him basically like holding auditions, like testing their skills, and he put together this like gauntlet. Like a month of in-game time passed, and then his player character put together this gauntlet to test the skills of these new heroes that were applying for his adventuring guild. And then we got to introduce the characters that we still have now, and they fortunately have not made any more grave mistakes like that.
Nice, that's good.
But that was probably my biggest facepalm moment of like, oh, that was the one thing.
Yeah. Speaking of grave mistakes, I reckon it's time for a horror story.
Oh, I reckon it is.
Yeah. So, the title of this one is "Campaign Ended Due to Railroading." Railroading like that.
Okay.
Now, that does happen normally, but so the weird thing with this, and I'm just going to cut the first paragraph a bit, it starts by saying they're the DM.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, it's ended by railroading, but they're the DM. I'm a bit confused. So what it was is it's a pirate campaign, homebrewed, and all it is the players came to the table and it went really well, and they were set for an epic conclusion apparently. So players had their own like arcs. It went really well. 2 of the players had their arcs, and everything was great. And it was also a first campaign for 2 people. So yeah, a lot of stuff has happened. Bloody blah. They've homebrewed a world. They all kind of worked on it together, and then they get to the end. And so I'll read the rest of it now. So each character was able to have center stage for their own arcs. They had a lot of NPCs that fit into the world and narrative very well, that made for some great storytelling and DM/player interactions. We had 3 solid arcs for independent characters, and as soon as we were beginning to pay off the groundwork for another character's arc, 2 of the 3 stopped showing up. So 2 people have already given up. For some reason, they've had their arc and just gone, yeah, I'm done. Supposedly when they did show, they tried to separate themselves as far away from the rest of the party as possible, sometimes even trying to start combat with NPCs. Missing a session or 2 was one thing, but this became a regular occurrence of saying they'd show up, we'd all get ready to play and set the time aside, and they wouldn't show. To make matters worse, when the flaking and sabotaging was brought to their attention, I was accused of railroading the party into the narrative I wanted, and that they were trying to take control of their characters' narratives again. More drama came from here, but that's neither here nor there, apparently. So it was the OP's first campaign as DM, and probably he says, I'm sure I did some railroading here and there. Like, that's a thing that happens. Sometimes it does. It is what it is. They did prepare encounters and major narrative way ahead of time, but it wasn't a big deal if we didn't do what I had prepared. I felt I was very accommodating DM by incorporating almost every backstory NPC into our narrative and providing them multiple solutions to any problem they encountered. They were even able to recruit a major antagonist against the BBEG with some great roleplay and lucky rolls. It really feels like these players became upset they were no longer in the spotlight and had to move more to a supportive role for their fellow party members. Since then, a new campaign with the remaining players started up, but this almost ruined D&D for me. What are some things I can do to avoid railroading my players in the future? And should I encourage narrative discussion to prevent players feeling this way in the future? So basically, this person was led to believe by other 2 party members that they railroaded the campaign. And they're asking how to avoid railroading, which, like, we've kind of talked about railroading today.
We did.
Yeah, with your moment on your WoW moment as a player.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there and don't know the campaign. I don't think they railroaded.
It doesn't read as railroading to me.
I would agree. I think it's a classic main character syndrome.
Absolutely.
Once they realized how good it felt to be in the spotlight and have the story be about them, as soon as it wasn't, they fell off. I think an intrinsic thing that you should bake into every D&D player character you make is a general empathy and appreciation for your party. Even if you want to make the lone wolf type that's like, oh, I'm a hardened badass and I just, I take names and kick ass. Like, if you want to be that guy, then, like, is it narratively cool when your party member is having a hard time or is, like, in trouble and you are like, yeah, I'm going to punch him in the face, kick him while he's down because that's what my character would do? Or is it more narratively satisfying for your hardened badass character to help them out, to save them in that situation instead of going, nah, the strong survive if they can't fend for themselves? Then, or do you help them out? And when they're surprised,
drop that shield, to drop that guard that they've got up,
you go, don't mention it. And like, which one is more narratively, like, emotionally fulfilling?
Yeah.
All of your player characters should have a general appreciation and love for the other members of the party, even if they don't show it. It should always exist, so that way, when your other party member is encountering the villain that killed their father, you're there to support them till the end.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's I think the interesting thing about this story is it's not just that they left. Like, let's say theoretically, because there might have been, we weren't there for the campaign. Let's say theoretically the DM did railroad the campaign,
Sure.
right? Because obviously it's going to be a bias statement from here, so it could have happened, right?
Yeah.
I think the issue then is if a DM is railroading a campaign, you shouldn't wait 3 character arcs in to then go, oh, by the way, we're just going to give up and leave because you railroaded everything. You tell them when they railroad, you at least communicate. There has to be something, because what's happened now is you've taken the last person's character arc away from them. Even if it's going to be railroaded, they might have really wanted it, but you've taken it away because you waited too long to speak to the DM. And that's just poor communication. In this case, I don't think he railroaded, and they just got bored and didn't want to do other people's things.
Sounds like,
yeah, it does sound that's what's happened. I think it's the thing that makes me think that is that they waited 3 character arcs. Like, if you're being railroaded, I would be so frustrated. I'd be like, you'd bring it up immediately. You'd have you'd bring up the issue.
Absolutely,
100%. And I definitely feel bad for the DM, because it was their first campaign as a DM. And that's
even more tough.
Yeah, that's really sucky. And I they didn't say, but I'm guessing the people that left were the people who it wasn't their first time, because the people whose first time it was probably wouldn't have fully grasped like the whole of all the railroading the DM theoretically would have done. So I'm guessing it was like experienced players, which probably made the experience for the new people worse. Luckily they got a new campaign and stuff, and it was good. But in a lot of cases like that, where people stop just turning up, it could just ruin D&D for people and they don't play again. I feel like if you're going to DM, you're going to have to be able to, like at session 0, let players know that if something's wrong and they don't like it, talk to the DM, because then we'll be able to sort it. I feel like that's a lot of horror stories happen is because they don't let people know that you can just tell them something is wrong or something, and they will adjust how they do it. It's a lot,
and that can go backwards too. DMs are so like ready and like willing to just be subservient to the players and like, okay, players, yes, thank you for coming to my. No, if the players are intentionally avoiding plot hooks at every moment, and you're not telling the story or like the theme that you want to tell, then let your players know about that. Call it Netherdeep is an adventure that is super, super deep. It's so emotionally rich, and like how being an adventurer and dealing with these issues is like how it affects your mental state. And like you get to kind of watch the rivals they go from like really optimistic and happy when you meet them to like sort of bitter and like hardened by what they've experienced. And my players for a good long while were very okay with just like dismissing it and like, yeah, it's what we do, we're adventurers. And then when other people didn't take it as lightly and like, we're now scared of their lives, the players were like, man, they're kind of a dick, like it's like, no, he's just like traumatized. He's just in shock. So I had a talk with them and I said, hey, this adventure is actually about like some really deep themes, and I would love, like as the DM, I would love to explore those themes. All of my players went, yeah, absolutely. And now they like really think about it, and they have those deep moments, not just with other characters, but with themselves. And if you're doing Waterdeep Dragon Heist, you go to your friends, you say, I want to do Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and they want to do nothing but leave Waterdeep. And there's nothing in that book for what's outside of Waterdeep, because you're supposed to do the whole thing in the city. If that's what you set up that you're going to do and they don't want to do that, you just say, hey, I would really love if we like just did the adventures. Like, could you guys just do the stuff that's in Waterdeep? If they really don't want to, you can find something else to do. Like if they're really that bored you can just find another adventure to play. But I have found that probably 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, sorry," and then they'll do the adventure.
Yeah.
Open communication is
Prime.
Yeah. I mean, D&D is a social game.
Yes.
People avoid so many issues and bury so many issues in a game where you will literally spend talking with your friends for hours.
Yep.
And it's baffling to me that you can't have that open communication. They'll role play this incredible scenario with someone, but they won't express their real emotions about or real feelings about something that really upset them.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like when we had our session 0 for your campaign, you told us if there's anything we don't want to do, just tell
Absolutely.
us.
I've got a list of topics that people don't want to come up, and like things like essay and things like that. And I'm like, absolutely, you need to tell me that stuff, because if you're not comfortable with me coming up, I absolutely do not want to run it.
Yep, it's the same thing. I think every game should have that. Every game should have like mine is the topic consent sheet that I hand to everyone,
100%.
and it's this massive list of check boxes of like not just the topic, but then like scenarios and elevations that it occurs. Because
100%.
like with SA, like I've heard the response a lot, like, I'm okay with it if I can punch him in the face after. Like that it's like or like what's another one, like fantasy racism, that like it's a very Tolkien idea that the dwarves, the elves, the humans, and the orcs all have these like perceptions of each other, that they go, oh, the dwarves, and and like you see it in Baldur's Gate all the time, right? Like in the Druid Grove.
Yeah.
Everyone in the Druid Grove has beef with the tieflings, and it's not because of the individual people. It's just because they're tieflings. And then it makes you kind of go like, whoa, you guys are kind of jerks.
I mean, it's literally I think the first interaction in Baldur's Gate between two NPCs is when Shadowheart meets Lae'zel, and then she's just like, "Oh, I hate you because you're a Gith Yankee." I was like,
Gith, yeah.
Okay, okay then.
And like sometimes that's a topic that all the players at the table can get down with, that they're like, yeah, because it's not like based on, or at least sometimes it's not based on like actual real social issues. It's about like the fantasy like differences between the races. They're like, it's okay. But like the Drow are literally disliked for the color of their skin and their culture.
Yeah.
It's like, who does that sound like?
Yeah.
So like, come on. But so that's another topic, that's like, how comfortable are you if you're going to play a tiefling, and it says very clearly in the player's handbook, which I should note, you could do whatever you want in your games. I usually run my games pretty close to the book because it's easier for new people to get down with that. But it says it's tieflings by and large are a pretty uncommon race usually, that like in most settings they're a pretty rare people. So if you're going to play a tiefling, on the sheet it'll be like, are you okay with people remarking that you are different? And like, is that a topic that you want to explore, or do you just want to be a tiefling and literally no one will ever talk about it?
100%.
It's yeah, having a consent sheet is really important.
Yeah, no, definitely.
No, go on. If you've.
Oh, I was gonna say, probably the last question we'd ask, and I can think of is, what's your biggest red flag when you're looking at players? Like, you're a DM, someone's going to join your campaign. What's your biggest red flag? And it's just like, oh no, I don't want you in my campaign anymore. Because there are some very big ones, and I've seen people talk about them, and it's like, yeah, that's a very big deal breaker.
Before game or after game?
Well,
like before we start playing or after we start playing?
I'd say we do like one of both. So like before you start playing, and then like when the playing's happened and you understand what they're like as an actual player.
Usually my determination for like if I want you in the game at all is if I think you're a quality person in real life.
Absolutely, 100%.
Like I still go to school, so people socialize, and like I'm in college, so like we have parties and stuff. And when I see you being an absolute dirtbag, no, I don't want you at my table. Like if you are a crappy person, I don't want to be around you. That's just a good philosophy for life. That
Yeah,
it's
100%.
like I'm not going to invite you to hang out with me for 4 hours a week if I think you're a trash person. But that's always like the hard no. I've invited a lot of people to my games that like I'm neutral with, that I'm not super familiar with, as like a way to get to know them. The only people that are like hard no's are like people that I know are crappy people in real life. After the game has started, my least and also most favorite phrase in the entirety of the game, that whenever I hear it, I'm either going to love it, I'm going to love that I just heard the sentence, or I'm going to absolutely loathe you for saying the sentence. It's what my character would do.
That's a good point.
I can see that.
If you use that to justify killing another player character because you want their magic item that they have, you're a crappy person.
Absolutely.
That's cringe.
Yeah.
And I know that you could come up with a million RP scenarios justifying that. By and large, it looks selfish. It looks like you're a crappy player at the table. Like, my philosophy is that unless I condone it, or there is a really strong role play reason, there should not be PvP.
Yeah.
And that includes like stealing from other characters. That like if you're a rogue, going back to your character should always have a deeper appreciation of the party, even if they don't show it. If you're a rogue, I can't think of many reasons to like steal the wizard's spell book and sell it. Like, you're a douche. Yeah. Like, come on. It is great, absolutely amazing when you give up the memory of your significant other and say, it's what my character would do. That's awesome. When the paladin has a Hodor moment and holds the door of the zombies flooding the entrance, and everyone goes, you are gonna die. Like, there's so many zombies. And he goes, it's what my character would do. You're awesome. Yeah. You're the greatest player known to man, like, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So that it's sort of a red and a green flag, that it's like, if you use it to justify shitty behavior, then I hate you. But if you use it to justify fantastic role playing and like literally taking losses or doing something that you know isn't the best play because it's what you feel the character would do in that moment, then you're awesome. Like, and you're great.
Yeah.
No.
Another phrase that comes to mind with that duality is, you should do this. And it's like, if you're leaning over someone going, oh, you should do this, and I think it comes down to the way you phrase it, especially. It's like, if you're like, to a new player, like, oh, did you know you can do this or this?
Yeah.
That's amazing. But if you're leaning over and going, well, why the fuck aren't you doing that? You should be doing that. That's what you need to be doing. I'm like, no, I want you to leave at that point. It's like, go away, please.
Or another one is doing other people's math for them.
Yeah.
When they roll a die and they have like their modifiers and their proficiency bonus, and it's usually when you're a more experienced player and you can just look at the die and add all of those things, and you say the number of their roll.
Yeah, that's not fun.
That's just like good. Backseat gaming. The only time I can think of that being positive is like, if you're showing a new player or you have like a combo idea. There were several times in my last game they were a Grave Domain cleric, and they had this ability, I don't remember exactly what it is off the top, but they had this ability basically that they could inflict vulnerability on someone, that they're vulnerable to their next attack. Oh. So they would always try to time it out, or like the other players at the table would try to notice when they were after the cleric in initiative, especially if they were the barbarian or the wizard or something like that
Oh,
that was
yeah,
gonna pack a
absolutely.
punch, or
That's
like the rogue with sneak
incredible.
attack, and they would point out to the cleric, "Hey, I'm after you. Like my turn is right after yours. Give this enemy vulnerability," because then the cleric would go, "Okay, yeah," and then they would just delete an enemy like for free. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, that's so good.
that, yeah, that was like a positive way to do that, of pointing out, oh my gosh, this combo works, because the cleric knew what that ability did.
Yeah.
They were just pointing out that that was a possibility. But when you try to like almost like over explain like the combo to them, then like there's a fine line between like you're being helpful and you're promoting a good idea, like a good strategy, and like you're being controlling and you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a difficult line to navigate, but I think it's
for sure. Yeah. It's always great when you can find a group that just gets it.
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, no,
I think
great.
Our group is, I mean, I've been DMing for 2 of them in the party for 18, actually almost 2 years at this point, I reckon.
Nice.
And the others have come in later. But we have a great time. I think I found them all online. I think the key part of why this worked is when I was recruiting online, I took the decision to, every time I spoke to someone, I would dump every message with that person in the group chat, because as a DM, I didn't like the idea of just adding someone new without them having a feel of that person, because they have to play with them. They have to interact with them for hours. It shouldn't just be on me to add that person. So having the group vet them is the easiest way to have that go.
I did not know this. So...
That's brutal.
I did not know. I thought you just sent me a message after I sent you a message. I was like, oh, yeah, it's cool. You can come.
That's brutal.
I didn't know.
Yours was really interesting. I put yours in and everyone was like, oh, he seems cool.
I can't remember what I said. I think I was just really like not nice about it. I think what I just said was like, oh,
yeah,
this campaign sounds cool. Can I play? Something like that. It's like, yeah, it sounds really good. I'm free most of the time.
Sometimes you get the people that are like, and I think our group is quite interesting because we have a very heavy, over half the group is female. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, which can be interesting when someone asks about the group breakdown, and some people get very excited, and you're like, well, you're immediately flashing all the red flags right there, aren't you? And it's like, you're a no immediately. Normally, it's ones who don't ask that are more comfortable about.
On their shoulders, or they're kind of.
Yeah.
It's
character vetting is hard. I mean, I've tried to be a part of some campaigns, but I straight up, like, once I tried to be in a campaign, and we had 2 sessions, and it just stopped. I mean, the first session went really well, and then people dropped out, and then straight up, like, some people just left the server without saying, and I was just like, okay, that's really annoying. I'd say that's my biggest red flag when playing is when people don't turn up without saying. Now, that sounds a bit mad, a bit hypocritical, because on the American one, I might have missed 3 sessions without saying because I've fallen asleep.
Okay, that's
because like I have to stay up, and then I straight up, the minute I wake up, it's just, I am so sorry that I just missed it. Like, I was tired, just fell asleep. And
I would use
cool, they understand.
The other half of the globe time zone exception. When we start at 2 a.m. your time, and then you otherwise would stay up and play through the night with us, I'm like, okay, guy can't pull all-nighters every single night. Like,
that
absolutely
tracks. But then
we had one player who...
Oh, no, you go.
Who she moved home to New Zealand. So we played at 7 p.m. She would wake up at 5 a.m. and play with us and then go to work. And we were like, you know what, Rose? Absolutely amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've done some old... I think there was a day when I had work at 6:30, something like that, 6 a.m., 6:30, and the session finished at 5:30. And I just, I ate breakfast, drank some coffee, and went. And then I got home at 7 and slept for 12 hours. I was like, yeah, I'm not touching anything. I'm going to sleep. Yeah, that was, it's
amazing.
Fun. Yeah.
That's dedication.
I mean, it was my first campaign, so I just really wanted to play. Yeah.
I have one final question before we end for the day.
Okay.
You are a TikTok creator yourself. Are there any small D&D creators you want to shout out?
Oh, that's a great. Let me.
Yeah, pull someone up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me pull up my following. Small D&D creators. I'm a big fan of. He's not super small, I wouldn't say, but I like Run DMG. Run DMG is really good. I've been watching a lot of the Buff DM lately.
The Buff DM, okay.
The Buff DM has 12K. Let me see here. Critical Crafting are a bunch of guys that make loads of homebrew content. They're super cool, and I like them a lot.
Cool.
I could just keep rattling them off. So if you want me to stop, let me know.
Let's have two more.
Two more. Let's see here. George Primavera,
Nice.
former host of Table Tips is the channel. That he's really good and he really knows what he's talking about. And he has, I don't know, I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, but I think Table Tips was owned by a media company and he was just the host of it.
Okay.
But he has since left that media company, so he started his own personal channel under his name where he's making the same kind of videos. They're not highly as edited because he doesn't have like a professional team of editors anymore. But that was the I saw him and he was like, "Hey, this is my channel now. This is what I do." And Only Crits.
Only Crits. Nice. It's a good selection there.
Those are a bunch of my favorite D&D people on TikTok.
Excellent. So thank you very much for coming today. We loved having a chat with you. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Go follow 220sLater on TikTok. We'll put your links. Are you anywhere else? Twitter? Or just...
I do have a YouTube. I have a bunch of socials that I just don't use. I don't know. I've set like arbitrary landmarks and milestones for like when I get this big on this app, then I will also be active on this one. And then when I get so active on this one, I will move to this one, because it's
That's
like if I start posting on Twitter right now, no one's gonna care. Right?
That's great. That's fair.
So it's like once I have X TikTok following, then I'll make YouTube videos, and then once I get such a YouTube following, then I can do like Instagram and Twitter. Like if people start actually giving a damn about what I have to say, then I will start saying things on in other places.
Excellent. So thank you very much for coming.
Of course, thanks for having me.
As always, you can watch us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube. Give us a 5-star on Spotify. It genuinely helps more than you guys can imagine. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Or we'll have another guest on.
Yeah. It should be good.